you ever so much for taking your time with Fluffy TV. As the evening goes on, I'm asking the same question for everybody. All I'm asking right now, lighting, is how have you been professionally since the closing ceremonies, and how have you been emotionally? That's all I've got to ask. Oh, and if you want to, say hi to anybody, because this goes out to the infosphere tonight.
Hello, Vancouver 2010 fans and supporters and volunteers, because we were there. We did it. We did it. We were the reason it happened. Professionally, I was able to make connections through the Olympics, and I was doing executive assistant work for the BC Assembly of First Nations. I had I went into another
upper echelon.
Exactly. I did that through Olympic connections, which was great. Personally, I went through a depression during the Olympic intermission between the Olympics and Paralympics, but I learned that it was the Olympic intermission, and then I rose again during Paralympics, and it was great. 2 months of unprecedented love, emotions, feelings, positivity. We did it for Canada. We did it for everyone.
And for you.
And for,
Don't you feel you did it for you?
For myself. And I was there, and I did it, and I loved it. And but it's great now to come back and see all these people who are.
I'm going to take a minute here. Look at all these people here.
Yeah.
Look at all this.
Yeah.
Everybody's coming in. It's still early in the evening. It's still really early in the evening.
Yeah.
It's just after 7 o'clock. Everybody's just getting here. Even if Fluffy's only had one drink so far. So you know it's early. Yeah. So it's going to get better.
And it's going to be crazy because we're all here for the same reason. Our love, our passion for Vancouver 2010. And I'm proud to say that I was a part of it. I was a part of it, and I hope that love and that passion, that spirit can carry on through other things, because Vancouver can show it. We can do it.
So much.
We know that we can do it.
Yeah,
so
we're on the world map now.
Exactly. The world knows us. They know Vancouver, and they will do it, and we will do it. So I am so proud of them.
Anybody you want to cheers to right now?
Cheers to all the 4 Host First Nations protocol team, the whole 4 Host First Nations team.
Love, man.
Awesome.
Love. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Are we going together, or are we going to go individually?
All right.
Okay, so you guys can answer in either order you wish. I don't mind interruptions. I'm Fluffy, I interrupt a lot. So again, since the closing ceremonies, how have you been professionally and emotionally?
Well, I was with VANOC for 5 years.
Wow.
Had 2 Olympic babies.
2 babies?
Yeah. So
congrats!
I was 6 months pregnant during the games. So it was definitely emotionally afterwards. It was like a relief to be able to kind of relax and focus on baby number 2 coming along.
Nice.
Professionally, things have picked up for me again. So I'm back in the sport world.
Excellent.
So things are wonderful. But probably one of the most meaningful things for the games was the 2010 Indigenous Youth Gathering, which brought together 300 Aboriginal emerging leaders from across the country who participated in the opening ceremonies. And this is one of the youth who participated in the opening ceremonies.
Fantastic.
Scott Abraham.
Scott Abraham.
Yes.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing awesome, amazing.
Thank you very much for giving your time to Fluffy TV tonight. Welcome to the event. Thank you ever so much for giving your time. And again, the same question is posed to you, sir. I'm not sure what you did with 2010, but like since the games, since the closing ceremonies, whether you were involved or not, emotionally, professionally, spiritually, how have things changed for you since then?
Oh, things have changed for me in the biggest way that I could ever imagine. To be a part of the opening ceremonies, to be that dancer out there welcoming the athletes of the world. I had no idea when I applied for participating in IYG, Indigenous Youth Gathering. I had no idea what we were going to do until we got to Vancouver, and they told us that we were going to be dancing out there while the athletes of the world were coming into the stadium. And I thought to myself, this is unbelievable. I can't imagine how I ever got there.
Oh, no doubt.
It's because of my culture.
I couldn't imagine like the emotional surge that you'd feel. First off, being told the news, and then secondly, on the evening of standing there in front of the world.
Oh, yes.
Dancing, like expressing yourself physically to tell your story and the story of love to everybody.
And, you know, like, there was 350 of us from across Canada. We were First Nations, Inuit, Métis, and when you get 350 of the most talented Aboriginals from across Canada and you bring them together, something huge is going to happen.
Oh.
When you have that connection.
It's almost like critical mass of emotion.
Nothing like that has ever happened. You can research the history books. Nothing like that has ever bring different cultures like that together and unite them. And we were sharing stories at our camp. We got we stayed over at NVOS.
Okay.
Out in Squamish.
Squamish, yeah.
So we sang at the fire camps there almost every night. We were sharing stories, singing our songs, you know, telling each other what we're doing with our lives.
Trading legends.
Yes. And it was unbelievable. Like, aside from being a dancer at the Olympics, I'm a singer as well, and I met a lot of unbelievable singers there. And
are there any plugs you want to put out about your singing?
What's that?
Any plugs you want to put out about your singing? Any other avenues? Any like MySpace accounts or anything you want to plug out there for the world?
Oh yeah.
Check out your arts.
Go out to YouTube. You can search up for me on there. It's Scott Abraham or IYG Indigenous Youth Gathering. If you want to hear me sing, go to YouTube.
Remember, it's all about spreading the word, my friend.
For the opening ceremonies, it was unbelievable. I met up with the best singers in the world, and I composed a song for IYG called the IYG Anthem, and it was unbelievable.
I feel so inadequate now as to my participation in the Olympics. I feel so inadequate compared to your involvement. Oh my God, Scott!
We were so fortunate to have that song.
And I apologize to interrupt. Speaking on the topic of First Nations, do you think that British Columbia and Vancouver as a whole, the whole thing when it comes to Vancouver 2010, was exemplary in its fortunateness to have a valuable jewel such as First Nations to showcase to the world during the games, as opposed to other countries that really don't embrace their First Nations? And I agree politically, there's things that our province does. There's still a lot of things to work out. I agree that there's a long road still ahead of us, but do you think that it was really advantageous and a well-done job that the First Nations, whether it be the 4 host nations and all Aboriginal Canadians, were able to be showcased and to show that Canada has this jewel of Aboriginal history that needs to be brought to the forefront? Whether or not it was done by the local press or the media, but do you feel like in your heart that, sure, and me, I'm Scottish and I'm a regular old Canadian, but I agree that we did a pretty good job of including and highlighting the Aboriginal history of Canada and the main 4 host nations. And I know there's a lot of work to go forward, but are you proud of the work that we did to include as much as we could during the games?
Saying you're proud of being a part of it would be an understatement. I mean, you have to give big props to the 4 host nations. If it wasn't for the 4 host nations, we wouldn't be able to come together like that. One of the stories I've heard from the 4 host nations is that the 4 host nations wanted to include the Aboriginal peoples of Canada, not just the 4 host nations, but everybody from Canada. And when we came together like that, it
the dialogue must have been amazing.
Oh, it was unbelievable. I can't express how much it's changed me as a singer, as a dancer, as a First Nations,
and as a participant in First Nations rights and politics and all that stuff. Have you found yourself getting involved more since the games because of that emotional first step to be a part of something globally, and then you realize you're stepping into a global pond that had the power to bring so many people together. Have you found that that's continued the dialogue since the games?
Oh yeah, for sure. Being a part of the games, it has opened a whole new world to me, and it's amazing. Like when you network with so many people, you know, it's incredible. I mean, they've given us everything. These games has given us opportunities that we never knew were there, that we never knew we could take. And when they say you can do this, or you can do this, or you can do this, you never know until you're actually there.
Aren't first steps the most exciting of all?
They're the best. My first step,
whether it be being a dancer, first step that you get, that first step into something. And you know what? That would almost be a fantastic theme to going to carry on this evening, is historic first steps. Those that took first steps into a new career with VANOC, professionally and emotionally. And what do you feel people should be able to take away from this, using the ideology of first steps? Everybody took that first step professionally and emotionally. Talking to all your fellow, what's the correct term nowadays? VANOCians? It's almost like a Star Trek character. What do you feel fellow VANOCians should take away from their first step?
What do I feel that we should take away from our first step is that knowing that racism is not around as much as it used to be. Vancouver is a multicultural city. Canada is a multicultural country. And when you bring everybody together like this, everybody has a different background. But what they should take away from it is that no matter what your ethnicity, or no matter what you do in life, you have to make it happen. Nobody's going to do it for you. You have to go out there and take your first step, and to have your first step coming out of VANOC, out of the Olympics, that's a huge first step, and it's amazing that you took it. And I hope that whoever is watching this, that you carry on no matter what you do.
I've only got 1,000 friends, but believe me, this is getting out to a lot of people tonight.
Like if you want to go out there and do what you love, by all means, go out and do it. If you're going to write a comic book, go write it and write the best.
It's like the old rock band lyrics, follow your heart.
Yeah, you have to do what you love. That's the only way you're going to love your life.
Thank both of you ever so much. I can't express my thanks for the time that you've spent with Fluffy TV tonight. And if you want to wave kisses or goodbye, but thank you ever so much.
Thank you.